Thank you very much for having me on. And we are extremely happy that we managed to reach the 80% mark. And I believe we did it ahead of schedule. And some of the strategies that make sense would be to look at the different segments of the population and figure out how to communicate to them so that they understand the importance of vaccination. Early on, we were concerned that some of the elderly were unwilling to step up for vaccination. But now, in the age group of 60 to 69, we have nearly 90% vaccinated. Over 70% is over 80% vaccinated. So we've done really well in a group where we were very concerned because of their high risk of morbidity and mortality. Now the shift is, okay, so most of the population, 80% are vaccinated. What about the remaining 20%? And that's where we'll be focusing the remainder of our efforts, because if there is one unvaccinated person who can get the vaccine, we'd like to understand how do we get that to them.
Yes, so I mean, Singaporeans are very, they're very conscious societally. They're quite observant of what the government might ask. Is there anything more that government can do to try and up that percentage even higher, which is already considerably high?
I think there is, because clearly the vaccine has not been approved for children ages 12 and under. And we're talking about that would be about 10% of the total population. So if you're really going to climb to above 90%, we have to look after the youngest members of our society. We just don't have enough data yet to know whether the vaccine and which one is the most suitable for them. So that's one area that we're going to look into. Now, for the remainder of the 10%, some of them may actually have medical conditions that maybe doesn't make it seem likely that they will get the vaccine. But for the rest of them, I believe seeing that others around them are able to enjoy a bit more liberty in terms of going out to eat. As you may be aware, if you want to dine in a restaurant here in Singapore, you must show proof of vaccination status or show that within the last 24 hours, you have taken an antigen rapid test. And so that is no fun if your friends are going out, but you're not vaccinated and you got to go get that nasal test. So that's one of the ways that we can increase the rate of vaccination.
Yeah, that's a great motivation. So once you hit you've hit this 80% milestone, what is going to happen in terms of freedoms for people? Is it going to be those sort of vaccine passports, proof that they are COVID-free?
Certainly, vaccine passports will be tremendously helpful, but because right now there's still inconsistencies in how different countries are recording the vaccination status of individuals, what we're going to look to first is to be able to, within Singapore, make sure that we understand how to check for folks' vaccination status. As you may be aware, we have an app on our phone that shows our vaccination status, so that's pretty straightforward. So for those who can show that they are fully vaccinated, we are able to eat out, as I mentioned. We will be able to start enjoying arts. We will be able to go to sporting events and go to weddings and all the good things in life that we've missed this past year and a half. We will be able to go to them again.
In other places, vaccination hasn't always slowed infections when it comes to the Delta variant. So how much of a concern is that?
Definitely the observation that the Delta variant appears to be more infectious than the previous forms of the virus is very concerning, as we've come to understand that there may be a need for a booster. In fact, there's likely a need for a booster shot. So clearly, Singapore is not going to be any different. We'll be looking forward to at what point in time should earlier folks who receive the vaccine go and get their booster shots, and also what type of booster they're going to need in combination of what they've already received. Because the population largely was not infected with COVID-19, having natural immunity is not part of the conversation.
Yeah. You are still recording cases, 133 yesterday. What is your estimate of what number's going to be okay to live with and have a good amount of freedoms?
Well, I have to say, this is my personal opinion, but I believe others share it as well. To some extent, looking at the number of COVID-19 positive cases, this does not mean that they're sick. It just means that they tested positive for COVID-19. Looking at that number isn't really all that meaningful anymore. What we'd like to see as we move from pandemic to endemic is to be able to look at how seriously ill are people who have been infected with the virus. We know that predominantly those who have gotten seriously ill in the ICU requiring ventilators are largely unvaccinated people. That's the number we should be monitoring very carefully. Frankly, all of us are going to come into contact with COVID-19 at some point in time, but if we are able to stay out of the hospital and out of the ICU, that for sure would be a win.
That's going to be the measure. Fascinating to watch. We will continue to do so with interest. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.